to the Lambda Chi Alpha. This is the second fall Parents Town Hall. So thank you all for taking time out of your day and evening to be with us. And we'll go ahead and get started now. We're going to get to introductions, but we'll just go over the agenda real fast. Three major things we really want to address tonight, which would be Lambda Chi Academy updates. Lambda Chi Academy is all of our programmatic offerings and what we feel really sets us apart and provides value to your son. Our philanthropic partner updates. So these are different organizations that we partner with to help better both the local communities and North America as a whole. And then we'll also talk about the educational foundation scholarships that are available for our students. So my name is Justin Fisher. I serve as the Chief Strategy Officer. I've worked for Lambda Chi for almost 14 years now. And so, I would say before we really get into this, our mission as an organization is to inspire and equip men to lead an ethical life of growth, service, and leadership. Now that can be kind of wordy. So essentially what that means is we believe our mission is to help young men find a community or belonging with a group of men that they share values with, they share interests with, and that we are able to enrich their lives through the different programming we offer, the different opportunities we offer, whether that's leadership or opportunities in the community, but that this whole experience helps them develop into the best versions of themselves, and it helps them lead them to a successful life, both in the near and long-term future. So I'll let Simon and Noah introduce themselves as well because they are on the call.
Everybody, my name is Simon Taylor and I serve as the Chief Learning Officer for Lambda Chi. And already, I've only been with Lambda Chi now for a couple of years, and I've just moved to the United States this summer. July the 15th, we landed. So I firmly believe in Lambda Chi and its mission. I have an extensive background in the United Kingdom in defense, but also in leadership training in the corporate world, and was privileged to start working with Lambda Chi a few years ago as a consultant, and I hopped over the fence and joined the fraternity properly 2 years ago. I've just spent the last couple of days driving around different chapters in Arkansas and also Oklahoma. And the caliber of the young men that I engage with is phenomenal, and how this sets them up for life on campus and post-campus. And there's nothing else like it. In fact, I view it as a complete differentiator in the market, and I'll come back to that. But if you've got any doubt about your young boy joining Lambda Chi, I've uprooted my family for this organization, and it truly is something very, very special, and it only wants the best for your son. So I am so pleased you are here.
Good evening, everyone. I am Noah Dial, the Partnership Engagement Specialist at Lambda Chi Alpha. I work with our for-profit and nonprofit partners as an organization, mainly the American Red Cross and Movember, hence my mustache right now. So the main thing, similar to Simon, I have also been doing a bit of traveling. And the main thing that you see when it comes to these partnerships is that chapters really embrace them. And you're going to hear a little bit about how those chapters have really ran home with some of these missions of those two main core partners this evening.
So, folks, I'm going to take you through the Lambda Chi Academy. It's really our center of excellence, and it's where we equip our young men with the skills to be a leader, both in their chapter, but also bridge that gap between campus and career. Now, just to situate this, the summer, the Brookings Institute, the think tank, they released research, and what they said was between the ages of 14 and 24, they are calling it the decisive decade. And they're saying the decisions you make between 14 and 24 will determine, and they're using this language, will determine for the vast majority their level of success in terms of career, financial success, but also relationships and health. They're calling it, it's such an important decade. And Lambda Chi, we sit in the last third. So we have a really important mission on our hands. So what we focus on is building belonging. All of our learning is we want to create that sense of belonging and get people working together so that they truly care about each other, but develop all those crucial soft skills that you acquire through working in a team. We also want to build character. We want to build men of value, men who are accountable, men who are not afraid of stretching themselves and taking on tasks and holding each other accountable. And that's delivered through a thing called the Ideal Man program. And we also want to develop that competence through the STEAD Leadership College. Like, I'm passionate about this organization. And chapters very much operate, in my mind, like a business and leadership school. There is nothing else like it. So the learning that we develop leads to digital credentials. You can see these on the right side. And what we're really trying to do is two things. We're trying to put an old man's head on a young man's body, and that's not an easy thing to do. So they're making the right decisions. But equally, we're trying to equip them with the knowledge and skills that employers will go, you've got something different from all the other resumes. You know what a sales pipeline is, you know what a budget is, you can articulate this, and what's more, you've been involved in these things. That's exactly what the learning is involved in. It takes our chapter experience and it bridges the gap with the real world. So it's extensive, and for those of you in the corporate world, it is a learning management system. That's what you see in any business, but it's 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 fresh. It involves a lot of Lambda Chi voices. We're always refreshing it. I was just speaking to a young member today, and he said instead of spring break, he's taking 20 of his brothers to build a school in Costa Rica. Bosh! I will have that in the Lambda Chi Academy because they need to see what good looks like and what they can achieve. So we have got case studies in here that involving Southwest Airlines, WD-40, people trapped down a mine, etc., etc. So I want young men to learn the competence and skills of lots of different roles, but I also want them to refer to them on campus, talk to their professors about them, because our stuff is up to date and we're constantly refreshing it. I want a young man sticking up his hand saying, so is this a bit like what Pepsi did? Is this about a bit like what the government tried to do here? Because we're always bridging it back from Lambda Chi to the real world. Next slide. So we have Ideal Man, and it's a program that takes the young man through in his journey. He starts off with um, developing myself. That's onboarding. It's learning about values. What does loyalty mean? What does service and stewardship, what do those mean? How do you apply those in your life? What are you doing that's different? How can you get others to apply them? STEAD Leadership College I've described, that's where we set our leaders up for success. And then we have electives. And I'm going to tell you about a really exciting elective. So Noah's going to tell you about the Red Cross. We do loads of work with them, and that's all down to Noah, by the way, on the call. But they said to us, what could you do in STEAD Leadership College to help us? Could you do one of your credential programs? Now, they last about 6 hours, not AI marked. So we do see assignments coming in and exercises coming in with artificial intelligence. We can tell that very quickly because of the big words that are used. And they came back, the American Red Cross, and they said, we really need to increase the number of African American donors because of sickle cell disease. Well, we are going to be developing a project management course that's going to focus on increasing African American donors so we can attack sickle cell disease. So we're partnering with the Red Cross, and that shows hopefully how serious we treat learning and how trusted we are with big brands. Next slide. I talked about the assessments, some are, only take a few minutes, others are much more extensive. There's one that they've got to analyze their leadership ability, their strengths, their weaknesses, but also their life experience. That's quite self-reflective and deep. There's others, you got to create a budget. That's not enough. You've then got to create the narrative for the budget. And these all sit in different programs. But it all comes down to I want these young men learning these skills and then talking about them to their peers, their professors, and future employers. Next slide. And what do you get at the end? You get a credential. So this one's about recruiting and sales. So in the chapter, you will have an officer whose job it is to recruit. And I was talking to a young member today at Oklahoma State, and he hasn't undertaken the learning, but he was telling me about how he recruits. And I said, look, it's great that you've got this experience, but why not do this program as well so that you then actually learn the language of sales? You're doing it anyway, but learn about value proposition, learn about a pipeline so that you can talk to that to an employer. Now, whether you go into sales or not is irrelevant. It will really help you. So these go on LinkedIn. You click it, you can see all the things that they've passed, the criteria to get there. But when we encourage them to share and talk about them and look at it before you go for interview. And this doesn't cost them. That's one thing. It doesn't cost them. It's all there for them. We also believe in experiential learning. So we have built, if you look at the one on the men standing around what looks like a board game, it is a board game, but basically this is a simulation that looks at a year and different quarters, and you have to align resources to the different challenges you're going to face. But you've also got to hit your targets and you've got to negotiate throughout. We piloted that last January to 160 chapter leaders. I know it was working because they weren't on their cell phones. So a lot of energy, but young men learning to work together. The other one, you can see them sitting down. That's a finance simulation. And I had a young lad in the summer in Arizona said to me, Simon, why am I doing this? I want to be a teacher. And I said, well, everybody needs to know finance. And he goes, no, I'm a teacher. And I said, well, do you want to be head of the department or even a principal one day? And he went, of course. Well, then I suggest you start learning what a budget is, because this is going to help you get that job and set you on the path to be the principal one day. Penny dropped and he immerses himself in the learning. So it's very much, we bring in professionals. I believe it's interactive, it's engaging, and you're developing all these skills. And there's nothing else like it. So I'm going to hand it over to Noah now.
Hello, everyone. It is good to see so many people on this call. Next slide, please. So if you were on the first partnership or parents town hall, you would have seen some of these updates on what we did last year, but I wanted to recap them here as well. Between fall 2023 and spring 2024, we raised 1,650 units of blood through our partnership, equivalent to 4,950 lives. In a lot of ways, the American Red Cross set 1,500 units as a stretch goal for us as an organization, being that this was our first year as national partner with the American Red Cross, and we managed to hit it. And we were recognized for it. More on that later. But this was only raised by 11% of our undergraduate chapters. One of our big goals for this year is to bump this up to 50 active chapters. Currently, we are at 23. We have already exceeded the number of active chapters that are hosting blood drives, and we'd like to get that number to 50 over the course of the year. When it comes to Movember, the total you see there, $96,543, is the final 2023 fundraising total, the top fraternity for Movember by nearly double the next organization. This made us number one yet again, right? And it is shown in the efforts that a lot of our chapters will partake with Movember and the Red Cross. with the American Red Cross, a lot of these chapters will host blood drives, right? And that leads to the unit totals. With Movember, there's a lot more flexibility in how someone can fundraise. We've had everything from country concerts to different social events to basketball tournaments. Every single different asset of fun can turn into a Movember philanthropy, right? And brothers are doing this across all of our chapters. And it was raised by around 35% of our chapters participating, which is close to the mark we're hitting this year. Next slide, please. So here's some examples of Brothers of Blood drives. On the left, you see a group of guys from New York University who hosted a drive with Delta. There's kind of a special opportunity. Normally, the Red Cross does not collect blood in New York City due to cost of collection, but because of the opportunity, the brothers at New York University were able to pair with Delta Airlines, the biggest partner of the American Red Cross, to host a blood drive, and they learned a lot about it. They were able to see a lot of people from New York City come in from different places. And this was one of our most successful drives of the semester so far, raising 94 units of blood. And to let those at home know, if you ever want to know how many units turn into lives, just do a 1-to-3 ratio. So it's 94 times 3 will turn into that number. You can also see our chief officer here, Justin Fisher, working hard at our blood drive, giving a great donation, because it's important that we do them at our conferences as well, because this kind of plants the seed for our membership in the future. We have brothers that, for example, at University of Buffalo last year, who saw at our January conference the blood drive that we hosted, and then went on to host a 163 unit blood drive in the spring semester. So it's all about just showing that it's possible to have a successful blood drive, no matter the kind of mean. It's possible to do it in smaller settings as well as larger settings such as conferences, right? And we want to show that chapters can cater it to their campuses. Next slide. And when it comes to Movember, the key tenet of Movember is you grow a mustache for the month, but it's not required, right? It's mostly to raise awareness for testicular cancer, the most common cancer in younger men, prostate cancer, the most common cancer in older men, as well as men's mental health awareness and suicide prevention. So the key goal is growing a mustache. And when people ask you about why you're growing a mustache, especially for a lot of people around the Lambda Chi office that don't normally grow a mustache, it is a conversation starter, right? And it allows for people to start the conversation about Movember with just a hairy lip. But our members have a lot of fun with this. They will grow some pretty gnarly mustaches over the course of the month and send them in for our mustache competition. And we, as an office administration team, also like to have fun and get involved as well, doing our own mustache competition within the office. Next slide, please. And a little bit of that recognition that we received from the American Red Cross this year was winning the blood drop. And a blood drop is a new kind of award that the American Red Cross National Partnerships Program has adopted to recognize their national partners across the country. And there is everything from Delta Airlines, Johnson & Johnson, DHL, big corporate partners, to a lot of the nonprofit partners, like some of our friends in the National Panhellenic Council have very successful blood drives. But this award that we received was for being the fastest growing partner in the 2023-2024 fiscal year. And it was a great honor to receive this award for all the hard work that our chapters have been doing across various chapters. It really means a lot to be able to be a person that helps train these members into hosting blood drives correctly, and now seeing it come into fruition is such a moving thing. And now for the totals where we're at right now. So right now for Movember, which is going on currently, right? We're on day 12. The total we've hit is $38,391 across 46 teams. Ask your member if they have a Movember team, because they're fundraising for all those key causes that I listed earlier. There's our leaderboard as of a couple hours ago. We've got the leaderboard that you can scan there on the QR code, and you can see if your son's chapter is on there. But there's also some chapters that haven't been added to the leaderboard yet due to some logistical things. So expect to see some more in the future. We're expecting to have, I will say that we hit about 35% last year when it comes to Movember participation. We will hit 35% around when these new teams get added, and we're going to hope to keep growing that as the month goes. When it comes to the units of blood, we are at 895 units, or 2,685 lives this semester so far. Ask your member if they have been hosting a blood drive with the American Red Cross, because they are starting to become more and more spread out across our chapters. We've had 32 blood drives scheduled this fall compared to 35 in all of last year, which was a big push. And because of that, we've also had more and more unique chapters adopting blood drives. More than, as I said earlier, more than last year already. We've hit about 14% of chapters currently hosting blood drives and having a great time while they're doing it.
All right, I must have missed a slide in there. There's supposed to be a slide about the Educational Foundation scholarship updates, but essentially what that boils down to is last year the Educational Foundation awarded $90,500 worth of scholarships to our members. They range from a variety of scholarships, whether that's a purely academic scholarship, there are chapter-based scholarships. There's also study abroad scholarships. So we have many generous donors who have given money and set these scholarship funds up. The period in which to apply would be December through February. I'm sure your sons are not like the other members, will not need reminders, that they will be told once and will do it immediately. But just in case that there will be an email sent out about the information. And then there's a link on the foundation website, which we can send out as well. And this is being recorded, so this will all be sent out as well in terms of any of that additional information. But we always encourage students to please apply. And then, our Education Foundation team always doing a wonderful job of continuing to raise funds to either increase those scholarships or create new ones as well. So that concludes all of the slide materials, but happy to answer any questions you all may have.
I can see James, you're talking. Do you want to unmute there, James Ferguson? I can just see you talking, sir. Do you want to unmute?
There you go. Do you guys have a code for the American Red Cross? Because we go to if the blood we donate blood. I'm a gallon donor. We both go all the time. A lot of times they give you a code you could put in so you guys can get credit for it. Do you guys have that? Are you aware of that?
Yes, there is a Lambda Chi Alpha blood link we use where if you register through the blood link using your Red Cross account, it'll track all your donations towards that account. If you could drop your email in the chat, I can send you that over your way.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
We did have a question come in. So as a parent, we're not seeing our son engage in these credentials being done or nor talked about at chapter. Why is this? And is there a communication disconnect between corporate and chapter?
Well, if you could, so I'm not seeing that in the chat. If you could drop me an email, I'm going to put it in chat, and you could tell me which chapter that is, and I could dig a bit more into that. So look, these credentials are available to everybody. So look, without answer, I don't know the situation on the spot. I will be in touch with you, or one of my team will be in touch with you, and we'll dig into this to make sure that your son gets involved and gets the same opportunity. Let's be honest, we're dealing with young men. We are constantly sending out information. I have a whole team of people talking to them, but it's very common for me to meet a parent and go, I haven't heard a thing about any of this. We hear that a lot. But trust me, if I'll be on this, If you could put your email in the chat. I know it hasn't come in yet. I don't want to lose this. Or even email me, staylor@lambdachi.org. Taylor, that's Taylor @lambdachi.org. Please email me. And I'm going to be a bit cheeky. I'm going to ask for a favor, folks. So we've got parents in the call. My next stage, our next stage with the Lambda Chi Academy, we're going to build out a preferred employer scheme. I've been meeting people down in Arkansas and Oklahoma. And the vision is that once you pass a certain amount of credentials, that'll open up a gateway to employers that would take more of an interest in you. You know, we can't get the job, but we can help you. So if any of you have worked in that world and would be willing to give me 10 minutes of your time just to give a bit of advice to, as you would all say, spitball an idea, I would really appreciate it. So we all want to make this a major success.
I have an additional ask, if that's okay. This question that was brought up is like a common, I think, issue, right? I mean, we're constantly messaging and communicating, and sometimes people read those messages, sometimes they don't. One of the challenges of our model is that every year we have a completely new leadership team, right? So we work so hard, build a relationship, and then someone new comes along. But as a parent or guardian, it would be wonderful if you asked, the Lambda Chi that's in your life about, like, hey, have you, I was on this webinar, I heard about this. Have you checked out the Lambda Chi Academy? Because this is something that we're really trying to implement fully. As I think back to when I was 18, what I wanted wasn't always what I needed, and what I needed was almost never what I wanted. And so in a way, we need to package this right in a way that, like, so it's like, oh, I want to do this. This is going to be fun and exciting, but actually you're also doing something that's going to benefit you now in the short term, but really benefit you in the long term. Which, as parents and I'm sure you all understand the challenges that come with that. Okay. Well, thank you again for your time this evening. Our email addresses are listed, so if you had something comes to mind, or there's something you kind of want to ask offline, please feel free to do that. And we will continue to do these on a regular basis. So thank you for your time, and I hope you all have a great evening.